Wish You Were Here. What's the story behind that song?
It's one of those strange songs that came to me very easily because David Gilmour had been playing the riff, and I'd been listening to it and going, what's that? And he played it again. I said, play that again. So I learned it. And I said, and then what happens? And he said, no, that's it. And I went, I like it. And he went, yeah. I said, so do you mind if I see what happens next? And so I played a few chords and wrote the song very, very quickly, as I recall, probably in an hour. So it was one of those happy times when stream of consciousness works and words come out that have meter and meaning and are musical and fit a melody so I don't try to investigate them too much, you know. It would feel a little bit like investigating a butterfly. You end up with dust and a few broken bits, you know. So it was when we were making the record Wish You Were Here, which was all about absence, and it was to some extent about the loss of Syd Barrett, who had succumbed to mental illness 7 or 8 years before. So I don't know, we're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl.
What do you want the world to know about Syd Barrett?
You know, he was a charming, ebullient, talented friend, and I miss him. But I've been missing him since 1968, you know, because he succumbed to some sort of mental illness, which you might call schizophrenia. You can kind of call that combination of symptoms anything you want, but the fact is that if it happens to somebody, it prevents them from communicating with their friends, loved ones, with anybody. They really do develop a wall, and Syd developed a wall, and it was extremely sad. But he was very talented. But the work is there, and people love him, and people love his work, and new people discover the songs that he wrote as the years go by.
Well, among the things I am not is a psychologist, but it occurs to me that besides the case of Syd Barrett, I Wish You Were Here, you lost your father. Your father was a hero of World War II. You lost him when you were very young in battle in Italy. Is there some remnant of that also in Wish You Were Here? I mean,
yeah.
I would understand if you said to yourself, I wish my father had been along. I might be a better man if my father had lived past the war. And also, I would think, you tell me, I wish my father could see what I made of myself. Any strain running back to your father, I Wish You Were Here?
Of course, yeah. Everything goes back to my father and my mother, who died a few years ago. But yeah, absolutely. My father has been a central figure in everything. When I was doing the Wall Tour, every gig that we do, we had 20 wounded men. At half-time, I would always go and say hello to them. And one particular show, there was an old guy there. He put his hand out, so I took his, and he wouldn't let go of my hand, like that. And he looked me in the eye, and I find it hard to say this, but he said to me, "Your father would be proud of you." And I welled up, and you know, I sort of, as I went to the stage to do the second half. But it just shows how powerful it is, all those years later, that you can be moved to tears just by somebody saying that. That is in quite a lot of poems that I've written about.
How do you stay inspired? I would think by this time it might be hard to get inspired. But it's no secret, you're in your 70s now.
Yeah, well, same way you do, I would imagine. Not that we've ever met before, but I know your work, and you have an attachment to humanity, which is in some ways academic, but in many ways visceral. And I know that you to be a man who has his finger on the pulse of what's going on amongst the human beings who live on this small, fragile world of ours and cares about them. And if you care about the other human beings that are alive now or that may be alive in the future, that's all the inspiration that you need. In fact, it's so much inspiration that it's extremely difficult to cram everything that one would want to do into this. So if I divide my time between my music or my little bit of activism here or there, it's hard to find the hours in the day to cram it all in.